All right, mates, welcome back. JL Scott Fishing. Hope everybody had a great weekend. It is Monday. Monday Recap Monday. Wade Ruck Monday. Still in effect today. Going to do some Wade rucking. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's basically a ruck while you're wade fishing. And then on to the range for Monday. So, hey, what a great weekend all around. I don't care what segment of the fishing community you're in. If you enjoy fishing, then you got some unbelievable stuff going down. Crazy stuff. Just makes you appreciate fishing community, and the opportunities that all the different elements provide. Shout out this weekend to Troy. Lines 21, I think a 21 and a half inch smallmouth, 5.15 pounds caught in Virginia. Awesome stuff. We got also congrats with a great performance from Justin Largan at Hobie, which we're going to talk about right now. Justin finished in 49th out of the 141 anglers for Hobie BOS Lake Dardanelle on Saturday and Sunday. So congrats to Justin for making that 16-17 hour trip and laying it down and finishing in the top 40. So Hobie BOS Lake Dardanelle did a video fantasy picks going into the weekend. We did pretty good. I'm pretty excited, pretty stoked. I mean, first of all, I'm happy for everybody that is now. We'll probably find out here the next day or so, I guess, once they do everything they do after the last tournament. Dardanelle was the last tournament of the season before the Tournament of Champions for Hobie BOS. So most people will figure out, most people probably already know, but there may be somebody on the cut line to make the 50, I believe, that go to the Tournament of Champions in that regard. So that's pretty awesome. So look forward to that event. That's probably one of the premier event that's happening along with KBF's National Championship coming up in October. So pretty awesome. I was very surprised because you had got the mixed messages. I talked about in the video. You had people telling you that the lake was shit, and you had people telling you that the lake looked like it could be on fire. Well, in 2020, September 2020, Lake Dardanelle had 112 anglers with 693 bass caught. This weekend, we had 141 anglers on Lake Dardanelle with a 982 catch rate. So almost 200 more fish caught this year, 2 years later. Now, the previous event on Hobie was in the spring, in April of 2021, and that did register almost 1,300 fish. So, get a balance out of that. April fishing is not September fishing. We all know that. We don't do the fall. Most of the South, definitely here where I am in the Mid-Atlantic to Northeast, fall transition is a full effect. I don't really know if that's what is happening in Arkansas in terms of where fish were positioned. It sounds like a lot of bass were caught up in creeks, off points and in creeks back. And that would signal, a summer to fall transition for sure. I'm just not really that familiar, to be honest. I'm really not that familiar with Lake Dardanelle. But this seems like the same guys just continue to do really well. If you look at 2020, 2021, and now 2022, 2020 Drew Gregory won, and he finished in 8th this year. So kudos to him again. Just the guy, just top 10s just seem to be automatic for Drew. And then in 20, it's kind of funny. I may have this wrong, so somebody hit me up and correct me if I'm wrong. I think in 2020 it was a tiebreaker, and in 2022, this year, it was a tiebreaker for first and second. In 2020, it was Drew Gregory and Eric Siddiqui, I think, for the tiebreaker. This year's tiebreaker, unfreaking believable story coming out of Lake Dardanelle. A 15-year-old first-time competitor, regardless there are people that will make it family and all that and dismiss things because of who his father is a professional, obviously professional bass fisherman, and Fred Rambanas. Jackson, 15-year-old, wins Hobie BOS, Lake Dardanelle. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. First time ever competing in a kayak, but had only gotten in a kayak to fish for the first time on Thursday before the event. So he only had 2 days in a kayak before he competed on Lake Dardanelle on Saturday and Sunday and won the whole thing. Now, independent of anybody, that's just amazing. Like, you always hear all kinds of noise you do after every event, whether it's a boater event or a kayak event or just people want to throw shade on someone's achievement. I don't get all that mess. I really don't, to be honest. I had boater guys calling me late last night that I know that are like, oh my God, like that would never happen in our competition. Probably not. You'd probably never have a 15-year-old hop in a bass boat and win, a Toyota Series event or a Bass Northern Open or probably not going to happen, right? So just take that for what it is. Does not matter to me as the family name. You still got to go out and catch fish. You still got to go out and put, best 5 in the boat 2 days in a row. So that's just an incredible feat. He was tied with our sleeper pick. Unbelievable. Congratulations to Francis Tron. Again, guys, unbelievable. I really wish he could fish more tournaments because he's just a nice dude and humble, nice dude. He couldn't make it to Susquehanna this year, but it's because of how far it is, man. It's like 16 hours for most of those mates. And so I think he competed in three events this year, including this one this weekend. So he's now going back to the TOC, finishing in second. Half inch, right? That's it. That's all it takes. Half inch. So Jackson had an 18.5. Francis had a 18. And in the kayak, in Hobie BOS kayak event, when there's a tie, it goes to the biggest fish is your next, tie-breaking method. So Jackson wins with that 18.5, takes home the big check over $8,000 in his first kayak bass fishing tournament. Awesome. That's why we fish, man. Anything can happen. Anything. I don't think anybody should be holding their head down. It's just unbelievable. You get out there, and a lot of times it's your time. It really is. It's your time when you can get on those fish. And it's just phenomenal to see that, for a young guy, just starting out, to just slay it like that. So anyway, our Hobie BOS picks, all of our guys finished in the top 50. So I'm happy about that. I caught a little bit of shade last night because, but my sleeper pick finished higher than my 5 picks. But if you look at the picks, our highest pick was Russ Snyder, finished in 5th with 161. Cody Henley finished in 6th with 157.75. Jay Wallen finished in 21st with 146.25. Brian Howe finished in 39th, 134.75. And Cody Milton finished in 44th with 129.25. So all of our 5 picks finished in the top 50. Our sleeper picks finished in the top 50. And our regional hammers finished in the top 50 of 141 anglers. Justin Largan finished 49th. Steven Sisto from Pennsylvania finished in 11th with 151.25. So crazy, crazy, crazy. Congrats to all of those guys that made the trip all the way to Dardanelle. Great to see. Really interesting to see how Tournament of Champions finishes out. As far as fantasy goes, definitely one of the better events for me in terms of picking people. I didn't pick Drew Gregory. I don't know why I spaced the fact that he finished in 2020 in the number one spot on Dardanelle. I don't know why. But speaking of Drew Gregory and Garrett Morgan were also fishing for the Arkansas Hogs against the Washington Warhawks in the Kayak Fishing Lake. And so the Hogs won that event. And think about it. They had two guys. So Drew Gregory finishes in 8th with 156.50. Garrett Morgan finishes in 4th with 161. Cody Milton finishes in 44th with 129.50. I don't really think the Washington Warhawks had that much of a chance with those, but they made the trip. God bless them. Great season, Joe Costa. Great season. Awesome lures. Check him out, by the way. He does a lot of custom lures. You should check out those lures. Great season for those guys. Jim Johnston, Costa, Victor Hendricks for Washington Warhawks. Nice guys here in the DMV area. So kudos to them. They had a great season. Competitive season for sure. Made the playoffs. But you got to make the 16, 17-hour trip. And it's a Hobie event. And it's a non-motor event. Can't really, it is what it is. Other KFL matches, Wild Card Saturday. Pennsylvania Brownbacks defeated the Rhode Island Rebels, 134, 132-ish. Crazy ending to that match. Check it out. Check it out. I think you find it probably on their network, PA Bronzeback site. Check it out there. In the last seconds, that match was determined. So you got to check that out. That's pretty awesome. And then you had the Massachusetts Maulers traveling all the way to the Motor City Ambassadors and taking the W. So look out, Granite State, I think. Rivalry Central gonna happen. And then your Southern Slayers defeated the Palmetto Punishers from South Carolina, 190 to 157. Southern Slayers will now face Coosa, I believe, at Coosa. So, and it's interesting to see that dynamic of these home. I think a lot of people were surprised Motor City lost. Maulers are stacked. Remember, Maulers are the defending champion of the KFL. And they've kind of been below the radar a lot. They have, in my opinion, a lot of times you don't really know what's going to show up because their lineup just changed a lot this season. And so it'll be interesting to see. I would imagine Derek Brundle and people like that are going to be back in the lineup for Granite State. I imagine Granite State is going to put them on potentially Winnipesaukee. That's been their strongest spot. I don't know what's happened up there with the fall transition. Maybe they pick another location because the Maulers pretty much know that. Probably Winnipesaukee as well. I'm not really sure there's too much of a home field advantage there, in that regard. Although the sticks are stacked for that leg. In terms of this season, if you look at the overall catches being made there, so that's going to be really, really interesting. Because it really goes to that home field setup. In the way that league is formatted, if you win your home games, you're going to get in. If you win all your home games, you're probably going to get into the playoffs. If you win all your home games. And that's what I think Motor City did, I think. I think that's what Granite State did. I think their loss was on the road. And then Coosa has done that. And Indianapolis Knights have done that. And so now Pennsylvania Brownbacks have to go on the road to Indianapolis, who have not lost at home since the founding of the KFL. I don't think they've ever lost a home match. So there's your advantage right there. So PA's got its work cut out for them, for sure. Doesn't mean they can't do it, but because it's a different bite right now. But that's tough. That's going all the way to Indianapolis or somewhere in Indiana. I don't know if it's the lakes in Indianapolis or not. They can pick whatever they want to pick. And then Maulers obviously staying pretty close to home-ish in facing Granite State on Winnipesaukee, and then Southern Slayers going to Coosa, and the Arkansas Hogs traveling 16, 17 hours, maybe more depending on where they live in Arkansas, to Virginia to face the Virginia Reapers. Now, Virginia is kind of right now very interesting. Depending on where they put the Arkansas Hogs. Reapers are really good at home. They've got a body of water. It'll be interesting to see if it's burnt. It'll be interesting to see where they pick based on the Hogs who's coming from Arkansas. It'd be interesting to see if guys make that trip, right after Dardanelle and then planning for TOC and all that. It'd be interesting to see who Arkansas actually sends to Virginia for the event. That's going to be a big thing for those of you betting on the games. Yeah, people bet on these games. So, I know the league has to downplay their side bets and all of that that's happened, and they've kind of had to have plausible deniability that there's any side betting going on. But let's face it, you don't list an over/under or a point spread unless people are betting, right? I mean, we know that to be true. Some of the stuff you got to admit is kind of funny. I think it's hilarious because on the one hand, they do stuff, and then on the other hand, they say they're not doing stuff. It's like, well, why do you have a point spread then? The only reason you have a point spread is people are betting, people on the side. I'm not saying you're running a KFL casino or anything like that, and you're profiting from it. I'm just saying people are betting. And we know that to be true. We also know that to be true based on communication from people back in July when a team got banned from Texas, and there was concern over the spreads because of the forfeits and in people's betting. So again, I get the plausible deniability. Okay, but we all know it's happening. Everybody knows it's happening. But in any case, that's where you're looking at for KFL after the wild card weekend. Now you get divisional rounds, and you still got to look at it Cousa's playing at home, Granite State's at home, Reapers are at home, and Indianapolis Knights. So who has the advantage? I think Indianapolis Knights are going to play their way in. They just don't get beat at home. Then they beat people consistently. And put the fish in the boat consistently. Hit their limit. So, again, Maulers, Granite State, that's just a rivalry. That is, who knows? Weather, everything. Who knows? Reapers at home, Arkansas traveling. Now, Arkansas's got the hammers, no doubt. It's just a matter of what lineup gets picked up and placed on and where the Reapers actually put them. Because they know some bodies of water down there really well in that part of the state. It's in the eastern part of Virginia. So that'll be interesting to see. And then, of course, Kusa at home. Kusa's been lights out at home this year. So it's just going to be interesting to see home field visitor, because all year long the visiting team has done really well on the road in the KFL. So I think there's at least one, potentially two upsets by visiting teams in this mix. But most people betting would probably bet on the home teams. In this format. Because the bite's different. It's a fall bite. Everything going on with that. So that's your KFL recap for that. Going into the divisional round, I'm sure they will do probably a recap of their own. Not really sure what that's going to do, and schedule wise, I'm not sure. I imagine they're all going to go out, early in the morning. I don't think they would have an afternoon like they had during the season, an afternoon match during the playoffs. I'm not really sure, but I guess that would be up to the teams competing whether or not they wanted to do that or not. But interesting to see how that's going to play out for the KFL for the end of the season push. For their playoffs. Great games this last for the wild card. I mean, you can't really ask for, especially that Pennsylvania Rhode Island Rebels game. Can't really ask for more drama than that. And we'll see what happens. Cover that as it goes, and then once the Hobie. Now that Lake Dardanelle is over, Hobie's going to field its Tournament of Champions coming up. There's probably a bunch of guys on that bubble area now where this weekend's event will factor in. And then sometime between now and Tournament of Champions, Hobie will drop its 2023 schedule. I actually think that's probably the schedule I'm most looking forward to now that's remaining. I really don't know. I mean, personally, I really don't know what the heck Bass is going to do, like, with their kayak series. This year was kind of really weird, coming from the year before. I mean, they seem to be concentrated in that one part of the country. I don't know if that's what they're going to do again. If they're just going to stay in Texas and East and the South. Hitting like TVA, and all of that. So that will be interesting to see. But that is what it's going to be. KBF has already released their schedule. Hobie is the next one to release their schedule. Plus, we've got some boating schedules to come out, BFLs and all of that for MLF, as well as the open schedules for Bass. Remember, those guys, in order to get into the Elite Series, have now got to fish all nine events. And I got a message from a mate that's going to fish in the MLF Invitational. So it's $30,000 now. So with the adjustments of everything, MLF had a conference call, I guess, with all of its anglers that have qualified for the MLF Invitational, which is basically replacing the old Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit. It will be 6 events and $5,000 entry fee for every event. So your commitment is $30,000 just for that slice of the tour in the MLF, independent of any other events you fish. I know my mate, there are people who are going to fish probably that and some opens and bass. That's probably the way it stands. To make it overall cost effective. He's looking at spending $50,000 to $60,000 just in entry fees for 2023. So that tells you a lot why the sponsorship push is happening now going into October. So keep an eye on that. If you have a business, if you have an interest in supporting individual anglers, reach out to them. Most of them have fishing pages. Reach out to them, start a conversation, have a dialogue, not just with boaters, with kayak anglers as well, because 2023 is going to be ridiculous. Inflation ain't going away. 2023 is going to be ridiculously expensive across the board for everyone in the community fishing. So it's going to be very interesting to see what adjustments people have made to schedules. We've already seen some other schedules come out that are interesting. Some new places, some old places, but we'll see how it is. All right, that was another update. Congratulations to everybody who fished Hobie BOS Lake Dardanelle. Great job by the picks. Even our sleepers for fantasy this weekend. Those guys are great. Hope everybody had a great weekend, and we'll see you again. Remember, the river is calling.